and welcome to episode 2 of Let's Hear It. Today we have a guest named Steve Schiltz and a very rare instrument that I would guess most of you have never seen. Steve is a great musician based in Brooklyn, and in the mid-2000s had a band called Longwave that were an amazing band, signed to RCA Records, put out a few records, and they actually have reunited, have a new record out, which is fantastic as well. But they toured the world, they opened for the Strokes, all kinds of people. And then when Longwave took a hiatus, Steve formed a band called Hurricane Bells that had a kind of hit song on the original soundtrack to the first Twilight movie. And Steve is also a kind of part-time member, co-writer of in the band Blue October, and co-wrote their recent hit, I Hope You're Happy, which has about 15 million streams. And he also spends a lot of his time making movie scores and commercial jingles, I guess you would call them, but he's composed songs for Verizon, Ford, Chevrolet, the NFL, Exxon, all kinds of beautiful little soundscapes that go in commercials. And he's a very good friend of mine, and we have a shared interest in strange instruments. And a few years back, I told Steve about our very good friend now, Jake Wildwood up in Vermont, who specializes in kind of Frankenstein instruments and fixing up old weird stuff. And so between the two of us, we have probably about 50 or more, maybe more, instruments that have been worked on or acquired from Jake, and he's one of our heroes. And today's instrument is called a Tonaharp, and it is a 17-string lap steel acoustic instrument that was made in 1917. The label inside of it says Boswell and Wilbur, Schenectady, New York, but the theory we're working on is that it was built by Regal in Chicago, because it looks like a Regal instrument. Regal was a company in Chicago that made an unbelievable amount of acoustic instruments and electric instruments in the 20th century, in the 1900s. And this particular instrument, so the Tonaharp had two versions. There was a 17-string version, which is what Steve has, and there was a 7-string version. The idea was that it was almost like an auto harp of guitars. So the 7-string version had some buttons on the top of it, and you would push the button for a certain chord like you would do on an auto harp. And there was a contraption that would mute some of the strings, and then you could strum it just by pucking the button. Apparently the 17-string version had that too, but this particular version we're going to show you today that Jake fixed up and sold to Steve does not have that button, and it's essentially been turned into a 16-string lap steel acoustic instrument. Now, I know I said 17 strings earlier, but when Jake got this instrument, one of the tuning pegs was broken, and he decided 16 strings would be just fine. And so we'll bring Steve on, and he'll talk about this instrument and what he's used it for. As I said, it's a very rare instrument, so welcome Steve Schiltz and his 1917 Tonaharp. Hello, Steve.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm all right. This is the Tonaharp.
Whoa.
If you would like to see, it's that's a snark tuner there. That's not original equipment.
You got to take that off, otherwise you're going to look like you're going to get, you know, how they put the snark on like Jimmy Page and all those old classic
yeah. What's anachronisms? Yeah, right. So this is the Tonaharp. It's not only the buttons that have been changed on this guitar, like you were saying, or instrument. It's got a mandolin tailpiece. I don't know if that was original. I don't think so. The back is see that? I don't think that's rosewood. I think it's dyed, but I don't know for sure. But see, it's got the purfling and the back strip, and this, like, the binding is like a Regal type instrument.
Yeah.
The thing that is different also is that you can see this wide nut right here. I don't think that was original. I think it had a regular sized nut. It's very wide, but it wasn't off the fingerboard. But Jake, our friend Jake, made it so that it could be played on my lap, which is what I wanted. I just didn't think all those strings would fit. So yeah, it's got this rosewood nut, kind of raised nut on it, and how I had him set it up, I think he may have had the idea to do it in a pair of tunings, but how they go together for me is, so there's this group of 4 on top, and then there's this group of 4 on the bottom, and I'm saying this is the lower pitch and this is the higher pitch, and each group of 4 has a unison string. So I have it tuned. I have it tuned so that it's, I think this is D. So it's tuned kind of modal, droney on that, and then up here I have it in F sharp, or B rather, B, and then F sharp, B. That's right. So how I think of it, my mind to organize this incredibly preposterous instrument is to have it as, this is the major, the relative major, that's the relative minor, the B minor, and then I play it on my lap. And it's definitely a bear to play. You're limited in how much you can do. You can't really change tunings without retuning it or using a different riser extender nut on it. But it's fun to mess with, and it does have a cool sound to it. So that's that.
Have you used it on any particular recordings?
I did a couple things when I first got it. Yeah, they're not released. They're still just stuff I did in my studio here. It doesn't, I mean, it's definitely a what's the word, it's a unique piece. It's not for everything. It's not going to get used as much as a regular acoustic guitar or something, but yeah. It's certainly fun to play, and it's definitely good for my brain to get out of the standard guitar chord boxes.
I know, like, we follow Jake's website, which is Jake Wildwood, I believe. Is it just jakewildwood.com?
I think it's Jake Wildwood at Blogspot or something like that. It's not just, I don't think.
You can find him easily enough. We'll put up his link. But I know we're always following what Jake is putting up and what he's working on, but what particularly made you go for that one?
The Tonaharp here?
Yeah.
I like things that I can play on my lap. I'm not particularly great at it, but again, it gets me out of the standard guitar boxes. Playing the guitar, you get used to the same chord shapes and the same patterns, and I've been playing guitar at this point now for a long time, 30 years or something. So at some point, you start looking for alternate routes, and so I like the lap kind of stuff, especially like droney lap kind of things, where not particularly Hawaiian sounding or something, but more.
It's almost sitar. It almost has that type of sound.
Yeah, like modal, like a drone. You know what I mean? Maybe like an Appalachian folk, or like really going further back, like maybe Irish music or something, like something super droney in one key, basically. It's just fun to play with.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, let's hear what it sounds like. Give us a demonstration. I imagine like these type of instruments for somebody like you, if you're working on commercials or movie soundtracks, just having the options of a bunch of different sounds. And at some point we will do a dedicated episode where I think you've got maybe 200 instruments crammed into your studio there. And
hard to count that high.
Are very rare and very unique. So at some point we'll come over there and do a whole episode just on what you have there. It might be like a 4-hour episode marathon.
We'll do a part 1 and part 2.
Yeah. All right, well, go ahead. Give us a sample.
All right. string fell out of the bridge. One of the many strings.
That's okay. Fix it up and keep going. That thing sounds amazing. Well, thank you, Steve. Thanks for showing us the Tonaharp, a very rare instrument. I'm looking forward to your solo Tonaharp tour in the summer of 2024. Check back for information on tour dates on that. I'm kidding, of course. But
are you though?
And
are we
thank
kidding?
you for interrupting your day. I know you were recording a potato chip commercial with 3 different banjos. I like that whoever at the potato chip company asked you to record banjos for the theme song. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's barbecue flavored potato chips.
Of course, that's why the banjo.
That's why it's got to be banjo.
All right, well, thanks for watching Let's Hear It. We'll see you later this week with another episode. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.